Man, this is all over the place right now. Yeah, yesterday our internet went out for like 3 hours, and today we're having like weird internet issues like all over the house. So, bear with us, guys. Yes. So, Outriders again. What I wanted to talk about this article. Article is absolutely just an article. That's what everybody's freaking out about. So I'm going to read this. Okay. I want to read this and so we can discuss it. This is what everybody's up in arms over. I'll have to edit this video, I think, after and cut out that full first section. But if you are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. This is Fun Speculation on YouTube. My name is Mav, and just going to give our thoughts on some of this nonsense I keep seeing on Twitter with some hot, quick takes about people. Oh, I told you so. I told you so. Oh, I've been looking for the thing to tell me that I was right all along. Oh my gosh, all along, and now here it is. Here it is. This article that's going to prove everything I've ever been saying isn't right. Oh, yes, yes, fuel against Game Pass, fuel against Xbox. Finally it is here. I can use it to my advantage in all of my clout gaining. Yeah, that is what's going on right now with some people. And hey, why not talk about this article and actually just break it down so we can try and see like what's going on, right? Instead of just saying, "Hey, this is Xbox's fault. Xbox bad. Game Pass bad. Articles say so." Yeah, let's not do that. So let's look at this and read it. And actually read it. Okay, this is on IGN. Okay. This has everybody up in arms. Outriders dev doesn't know how many copies it sold and hasn't earned any royalties. Okay. Well, that's intriguing. That's interesting. That's definitely going to grab your attention. Like, how can the dev not know how many copies it sold and hasn't earned any royalties? And then it goes on with the sub headline says, "People Can Fly suggests the game may not have been profitable due to Square Enix's choices." Okay. Now let's figure out what's going on. Hey, sub Invader. Yeah, I agree. Same here. I don't think I was gonna buy the game, but I'm glad I didn't. Right? And that's what I think the real problem is. So we're gonna go and figure this out and decipher this article, right? So Outriders developer, People Can Fly, because it didn't know how many copies the game has sold. Okay. And hasn't earned any royalties from the game, says IGN. Suggesting it hasn't yet been profitable. And that's another key word that people need to keep in mind when looking at this. Suggesting is used a lot, and also what it is saying is they don't know. They just know they haven't gotten any royalties, right? So what they're trying to do is presume that this, based on the fact that they haven't gotten paid from Square any of the royalties that were allotted for the first year. Now we can get into why that may be a possibility as well, as opposed to just outright blaming Game Pass. So we're going to get into this, okay? Announced on the developer's investor website, People Can Fly explained that the agreement with Square meant it would receive any royalties for the game's first quarter on sale by August 16, 2021. So what they're doing is they're waiting on royalties for the game's first quarter. Okay. So when Outriders came out, I think, was it? I don't even remember. When did Outriders come out? Outriders release date. It may even say in the article. Came out in April. Okay. So they were due to get royalties as of yesterday for the game's profits for the first quarter, in which they did, I guess, not receive any. So yeah, yesterday was August 16th. So this is a quick thing. Like they're basically saying, "Hey, where's our profits? Where's our royalties?" Right? So they're going to Square, and I guess they didn't get their royalties from any of profit or sales of the game from the first quarter, because no funds were transferred, which People Can Fly suggests means that. So People Can Fly again is suggesting. What's up, Monsta? What's up, Game Filter? Jay, Sean, Peter, back. Suggesting, according to the publisher, the revenues from the sale of the game. Okay, so People Can Fly suggest mean that. So they're still suggesting, according to the publisher, the revenues from the sale of the game are lower than the total cost of its production, including quality assurance, distribution, and promotion. Okay, so marketing, distribution, production, quality assurance. Okay, all these costs are in effect when discussing this game. Okay, People Can Fly executive Sebastian Wojciechowski added that the company had no firm data for copies sold. Okay, so basically they don't know how many is sold, right? They don't have any firm data. I don't know if that's normal or not at this stage for a dev and for the publisher not to share the sales data or whatnot of how many copies the game is sold. Basically, they don't know how their game is doing sales wise. We estimate it at between 2 and 3 million units and assumed that this was a result that would ensure profitability for this project in the first quarter. So they'd assume, because they believe it sold between 2 and 3 million copies, that they were ensured profitability for the project in the first quarter of sales. It's interesting. Like, how do they know exactly what it sold, and that's all that it's saying, right? But they assumed that it was going to be profitable. So People Can Fly is kind of surprised right now that they didn't get a check yesterday. Like, where's our check? Where's our money? Right? So that's what's leading to all of this. The lack of payment by the publisher probably means that, according to Square Enix, this is not the case. So again, they're saying that they're suggesting that Square believes that this game is not yet profitable. All right, keep adjusting these lights. Okay. The Wojciechowski also suggested lack of profitability could be caused by the publisher. So this is where it gets into the people feeding into Game Pass, right? And the whole, "Oh, Game Pass is bad" argument. Ooh, the game not profitable because of Game Pass. Well, the people are completely missing the fact that this game also released on other platforms, not just Xbox. So PC, PlayStation, Xbox, all a factor here, right? Wojciechowski also suggested a lack of profitability could be caused by the publisher, including distribution partnerships. The game was launched into Game Pass, for example, right? So that's where people are like, "Ooh, wait, distribution partnerships, Game Pass, not profitable." They're saying maybe they're suggesting that it could be that, and missing everything else that they're saying, or that Square spent more than expected on releasing the game, or that's a possibility as well. And could it be due to issues after the launch? It very well could be. Last year, the publisher announced that Marvel's Avengers had failed to recoup its development costs. Wait, here's an example. Wait, didn't Marvel's Avengers also launch on all platforms and not on Game Pass day one? Yeah, it didn't, did it? And is this a sort of similar type game? Yeah, sort of, right? Is that one Game Pass's fault? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that Marvel's Avengers failed to recoup its development costs? Can we blame Game Pass for that one too? Hmm. Again, a few months after launch. Interesting. Okay. Wojciechowski added that the game was still being worked on. People Can Fly expects more promotional work from Square, and that the sales tail of the Outriders game is ahead of us. Okay? So basically what they're saying is, hey, this game's not dead. It's going to keep on. That they're still going to sell copies. So as a result, the company expects royalties to begin later this year. So what they're also saying is, okay, maybe they didn't get their royalties this time, but they expect them later this year. So then IGN says that they contacted Square Enix for comment. So interesting, guys. I mean, whose fault is it that Avengers didn't sell well? Was it because it was not a great game? Was it because it was kind of unpolished and broken at times? Was it because of flawed systems with the mechanics? Was it because people just didn't like it? Now, then we look at what are the reasons that Outriders isn't profitable yet in the first quarter. Potentially. Well, if the word Game Pass is mentioned in this article, it has to be Game Pass. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know? What's up, Mads? What's up, Lost? Lil Ray Ray. How's it going? This is just interesting to me. You know, like basically People Can Fly is looking for their check and being surprised that they didn't get one because they thought the game was going to be profitable. Well, guess what, guys? Like maybe not as many people bought the game on all platforms because of all the news that was out there that the shit was broken, including even on day one when people couldn't play together. Immediately when people started playing the game on day one, people were having problems. People couldn't play together. Like, hey, hold off, man. Like, just wait, don't buy it yet because we can't even play together. We keep getting disconnects, all this stuff. Those problems lasted and lasted and lasted. And it even got so bad, people were losing their loot. Like, there was a lot of issues with this game. All of these factors weigh in here, right? Did they have more players than they would have because of Game Pass? Yes. Did they maybe even sell more things because of Game Pass? Probably so. Game Pass, I would also say, has elevated the game to a different level of excitement and hype, and that actually caused more people to play than ever would have the otherwise. It's just this whole thing about, hey, Game Pass is the culprit here. You know, with everything, every time anything comes up, people have been waiting for something like this, right? People have been waiting, and it's just obvious, right? Um, I don't know why people wait so much for stuff like this to happen. Um, I'm gonna show this comment right here. From Nightwolf. It says it was a fun game, but they did it to themselves to make a game not be fun or good. Should have delayed it another year. This was a cash grab anyway. They're working on what, 3 other games now? Maybe, there was a whole, I think the game had a lot of potential, and it still does. This game is not dead, but it launched with some mistakes that were made that really had a detriment to the game. Other games have been succeeding because of Game Pass, where this game, even though it hasn't failed, maybe didn't have as many royalties as they expected, and that was only their assumption based on their presumption of how many people they believed bought the game. Right? They believed it had between 2 to 3 million in sales. So they thought it was going to be profitable in quarter 1. Well, to their surprise, they didn't get a check. Yesterday. So all of a sudden it's Game Pass's fault. And like I said, even in the article, people are ignoring these things. Whose fault was it for Avengers? It wasn't Game Pass's fault. Okay. People Can Fly is currently working on new games for both Square and Take-Two. But he also says a third game is in the planning stages, with the developer intending to self-publish it. That seems to come down in part to situations like that of Outriders. So here we go. We can continue with this. This is with a quote. And I'll say, like, IGN did a pretty good job with putting this together. There are some presumptions here that I think they're taking and leading some things down a path which is unnecessary. But it's like, I do like the quotes that they chose. He says, working with the publisher has many advantages, but also its disadvantages. One of them is the low impact of People Can Fly on sales activities, and the incompleteness, or as in this case, the lack of data obtained from the publisher in this regard. So basically, they want the sales data. They want the sales data. They're not getting it, unfortunately. Mad says he really liked the game. Luckily, you haven't had any major issues with it. Right on, dude. I haven't been playing since like the first 2 weeks of the game's launch. Personally, for me, when I was playing, I didn't have a lot of issues. Right? I was able to play. But what happened was everybody that I was playing with would get randomly disconnected. So we were always fighting a battle of trying to play together. But I didn't ever get disconnected myself. I think maybe once the game crashed. That's like all. Other than that, like, I didn't have a lot of issues. That being said, I know that these issues were widespread. Like my friend Psychonauts, he was getting kicked left and right. Right, other people were just getting kicked left and right from games. It created a problem, right? If this game had better online stability, I think it would have had a better track record at launch, right? With word of mouth. The other thing is that they did make a game that didn't have as much in-game content, so it didn't keep a lot of players engaged when they beat the game. I remember seeing a lot of people beat the game. They were like, "Okay, I'm done," right? And it wasn't good enough for them to go back, or engaging enough for them to go back. For me, I saw all this stuff going on. There was so much other things to play. I just stopped playing it. And I'm like, I'll revisit this another time down the road, right? So we'll see how the game does in the long term. But as of right now, it's supposed to be in better shape. And is this game doomed? Is this game in bad? Oh, is it a horrible situation? No, like they said, they expect to be profitable. Like they expect to get royalty checks this year. So it's not like a failed game. Like people are gonna make this out to be like, oh, Game Pass is the reason that this game failed, and well, no games will ever come to Game Pass again. I can already see where that's going, right? Um, this is not the situation. Just like the Phil article, people are going to jump to conclusions, pick apart the negative, and focus on anything that they can use, try and make a case that backs their weird thinking, right? Um, Outriders lot was launched. Okay, well, hold on. Let me go back a little bit. The lack of data obtained from the publisher in this regard. This is one of the reasons why, apart from working with publishers, we have decided to develop projects whose IP will remain the property of the company in which will be published by the company. So they're going to also say that they're not going to stop working with publishers. Apart from working with publishers, that they're already working with Square Enix again and Take-Two. But to them, that's one of the drawbacks. That's just a simple statement saying like, okay, well, a bad thing about working with a major publisher is we don't get this kind of stuff. We don't get this kind of like sales data that we like because we like more control over our own destiny. And that's kind of what they're saying here. They just want the control of where their game, with the knowledge of the information of how much the game is making and all these things to be in their hands. So that way they don't feel like mistakes were made potentially that were not their own doing with the cost of the development, the cost of marketing, the cost of all that stuff, right? If I'm going into business and I'm trying to make a decision, I got a certain amount of investment, right? Which they're all making, and somebody else is in charge of a lot of that, right? And you weren't as profitable as you expected to be right away, then even if it is your fault because somebody else is involved, you don't know whose fault it is, right? And that's basically where they're going with this when they decide to potentially do more projects by themselves as opposed to working with a publisher. That's the advantages. The disadvantages is there's more risk. So if they do fail, they're gonna have a larger, uh, penalty from that, and there's also they have to deal with more of the upfront cost, right? So, there's disadvantages and advantages to both. That's basically what he's saying, is he's not saying, "Because Square Enix used Game Pass, you know, because Square used Game Pass, this is why this is happening, so we can't let that happen, we're gotta do them ourselves." That's where people are gonna run with this. Outriders was launched in April, and we gave it a 7 out of 10. Okay, saying that it's a blend of wickedly fun sci-fi shooting and looting, blah 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 blah. In its first month, it passed 3.5 million players, but it's unknown how many of those players acquired the game through a Game Pass subscription as opposed to a regular sale. Again, IGN just putting that in there, right? So let's say that 500,000 people bought the game and 3 million played it via Game Pass. Whose fault would that be? Right? Like that's just a hypothetical. Is that a bad thing? No. Because the 500,000 people were going to buy that game anyway, and only if that's all you're getting from sales from PlayStation and PC and stuff, only another small percentage of the other 3 million were probably going to buy the game, right? So you're not costing yourself that much in actual player base to be in sales dollars to begin with. What you're gaining though is 3 million people playing your game and talking about it. Now that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how your game is. If your game is not up to par or up to snuff with that many people playing it, word of mouth is not going to help you very much in the sales department. So that's basically the bottom line. You know, is this game doomed? No. It's still gonna, like they said, they expect profitability in the next quarter probably. Like, so they're expecting checks later this year. That's all. And this game was built to hopefully have some kind of longevity with it. Um, there's so many self-published games on Game Pass. Back from Dead, hey, yeah, says if it was true that self-publishing without Game Pass was better, you wouldn't see so many indie games on the service. At 100%. I will be interested to see if any people can fly self-published games in the future come to Game Pass. I would really like to know that. So here we just like some video of me playing Outriders when it came out. You can try and look for negatives, right? And try and twist things into ways of thinking, which is a popular thing to do, period. But bottom line is here, there's really nothing here that's even worth mentioning or talking about. Even though that article was written uh pretty well, I think, with the quotes and stuff, like it's just really unnecessary. Other than the fact that people can fly is looking for their money and wondering how their game's doing. They're not getting the information from Square. So I would really like to know, like, is that normal? Like with game publishers, like, is it normal for after the quarterly sales, uh, for these devs not that are supposed to be paid royalties, not get clear information on the sales of their game? Is the publisher have that much control over the sales data that they don't have to share it in a situation where royalties are due? That's very interesting to me. That's why I think the article is interesting. Not because of the Game Pass thing that people are going to run with. It's because of this notion of like, hey, can publishers not share the sales data with people that are owed royalty based on the sales? So maybe they wait until the sales actually start cutting a check for for the dev with the royalties before they share everything. Maybe there's no check, there's no data to share. I don't know. I don't know how that goes. I'm really interested in that. I think that obviously they were disappointed they didn't get their money yesterday, and that's kind of where this is going right now. So I will find out more, I guess, as things go on, and if they're profitable the next quarter. Now that the game is fixed, maybe more people are gonna buy it and play it over time. Maybe they'll start getting their royalties checked then. Not sure, so I think a lot of people are presuming the wrong things with this situation already. Yeah, just based on the fact that Game Pass was mentioned in the article. So, um, man, it's like interesting uh seeing all these takes, right? Like, why do people think like this and jump to negative conclusions so quickly when it comes to Xbox and especially Game Pass? Is there some kind of like motive with the thinking behind that? Like I don't really know why so many people are just looking to attack it and are against it. And when articles like this come out, even though really it doesn't have much to do with it at all, it is used in a way that is fuel for their fire. So that's the point of me going live with this right now, and I just wanted to talk about it. Lost Forever says you too many looter shooters. That's another thing that's happening a lot right now. There's a lot of looter shooters coming out right now. You enjoyed it while it lasted. Yeah. Kyle, KTX Games, says he played the beta and was not interested in the game and would not have bought it. Because of Game Pass, he gave it a second shot with a new character. Ended up enjoying it with your friend on PC. So you enjoyed it, you played it. Did you talk about it when you played it and enjoyed it? I bet you did. And you wouldn't have tried it otherwise, right? So, Sean says there's other games to play now thanks to Game Pass. Outriders is old news for you, right? Some people are using things like that as reasons that Game Pass is bad too. Well, people are just gonna play whatever the flavor of the week is in Game Pass, and games aren't gonna last. So people are saying that too. But I think good games are gonna last just like they always have, and bad games or mediocre games are gonna die like they always have, right? You're still gonna have your dedicated player base for pretty much most games, right? But if you like Hyperscape, right, which is Ubisoft's free game, not even on a service, it's a subscription, right? It's dead. I think Hyperscape was free to play. Maybe it's not. I don't remember. But anyway, it's dead. So yeah, guys, I see people like Geezer saying his biggest problem with co-op was the lag. And rubber banding was pretty bad. I had some of that. I didn't have a lot of it. I had some of it. The main thing I had was difficulty was pretty up there. Like it wasn't too hard to play, but like I didn't want to. They had this system that kind of threw me off, right? Like I was playing solo quite a bit, and they had the world levels, and I'm not a guy that wants to drop the world level, but I got to a point in the game that maybe I wasn't supposed to be at that world level yet, and it just got ridiculously hard. Like, I mean, you get shot once, you're dead, you know. And I have trouble advancing through that. So I know a lot of people they drop the world level. I didn't want to do that. I'm too stubborn. I'd rather run into that over and over again and die than drop the difficulty. Because I feel like doing that like would dropping my chance at good loot. And mentally, I don't want to do that, right? Like I'd rather keep. They have a little bit of weird systems in that game that some people that are going to defend the game would probably not like to hear that, but I think they could have done a better job with balancing a lot of things with it. Gameplay wise, it's fun. Outriders is a fun game. The combat is good. The guns feel good. The abilities feel good. Enemies are fun to shoot. Graphically, it's not the best. It's okay, right? But what really killed this game more than anything was all the online problems, all the functionality issues, the fact that it doesn't have a lot of longevity with the design of it. Not like other games like this that are built more for longevity. And just like a lot of other looter shooters, this game is not doing as well as people had hoped. That being said, the game is still doing well enough that they think it's still going to be profitable in this next quarter, and they thought it was doing well enough that they believed it was going to be profitable in the first. So that's their assumption right now. That's from People Can Fly, who, according to them, doesn't have any sales data. So I'm curious when they're going to get that sales data, and what the information is going to be, and if they get paid next go around, next quarter. Lord Ruffness says, you enjoyed Outriders. Would probably go back if there was DLC. Right on. Hey, cool. Um, that's gonna be it for this stream, guys. I just wanted to put my 2 cents out there about and go through that article. I'm gonna put a link to the article in the description below. I'm also gonna probably just edit this stream out from the beginning because the beginning I had audio issues. I had internet issue. I had to answer the phone, dealing with all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna clip out that first section and then repost this as a video with the description and everything. So if you guys enjoy this, please like, share it out, retweet the Twitter feed, when I post these things, and sub to the channel if you like the content. But appreciate all of you guys who are here hanging out for this, and I hope to see you guys. Tomorrow Fun Pop's back, and I'll probably be streaming something later today, so or this evening. But yeah, you have a good one, guys. You take it easy, and bye bye.